Good morning, we'll get underway. I just wanted to say welcome and welcome to another season of audit reports here in the office. It'll be the usual procedure here, about a 5-minute statement from the AG, and then we'll take questions from the floor. So I'll turn it over to Auditor General Kim Adair.
Okay, thank you, Amy, and good morning, everyone. This morning, I filed a new report with the House of Assembly, an audit of the planning and acquisition of thousands of nursing home beds in Nova Scotia that will cost taxpayers more than $8.5 billion over the next 25 years. With so much on the line, we wanted to see if the province was appropriately planning and using an evidence-based approach to achieve its outcome of constructing 5,700 new and replacement nursing home beds by 2032. Concerning weaknesses were uncovered through our audit testing. Our findings show that although the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care selected sites that matched demand projections, once projects were underway, it failed to properly monitor the nursing homes under construction. We also found that 4,000 beds were not competitively procured as required under the Public Procurement Act. Instead, they were offered first to existing nursing home owners. My office recognizes the department's position in supporting existing service providers in Nova Scotian communities, but the key components used to rationalize the decision to employ a right of first refusal process could just as easily but be addressed while following the current Procurement Act. With billions of dollars at stake, Nova Scotians deserve confidence that their tax dollars are delivering best value. In other audit findings, we found that while contracts signed with service providers show evidence of value for money, there's room for improvement. The department should review contracts between providers and third parties involved in the capital construction of these facilities, and also define its change order process. The process largely relies on the long-term care service providers, most of whom have limited experience with major construction projects. The province created the new Seniors and Long-Term Care Department to lead the delivery of the major initiative of nursing home beds, which will impact seniors' care for decades. In addition to not following provincial procurement rules for more than 4,000 replacement beds, today's audit report uncovers a lack of evidence to support the decision to renovate or build over 1,000 nursing home beds before the department was created in 2021. We found there was no documentation passed from the old department to the new Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care when it was created. The Nova Scotia Government's Record Act states that all such records should have been included in the transfer of responsibility. This audit examined the approvals and construction phases for nursing homes. Although the new department developed an 11-step facility development approval process, concerning weaknesses were found. We discovered that new nursing homes going through the procurement process bypass important steps in the approval process. And once approved, there's a failure to properly monitor nursing home projects under construction and a failure to accurately report the progress to the public on its website. The audit makes 10 recommendations, including that the new and replacement beds selected for construction be awarded following the Public Procurement Act. The department has indicated agreement to them all and has committed to carrying out almost half by the end of this month. Last fall, the province had a wait list with more than 1,800 Nova Scotians looking for a nursing home bed. With such urgent need, the plan to create thousands more beds by the year 2032 is an important one. The plan is still in the early stages. Through implementation of the recommendations, we hope to improve the planning, procurement, management, and reporting on the construction of nursing home beds for years to come. So I'd like to thank my staff for their work on this report over the past year, and to the many civil servants across government departments who help us get our work done. So now I'd be happy to take any questions.
Auditor, how concerned are you about the government's attitude towards bypassing competitive bids in a lot of instances? There was the public accounts committee meeting last week where they mounted a defense of doing just that. It appears that they're doing it in this realm as well that you just looked at. How concerning is that as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, it does appear to be coming up in a number of the audits that we're doing, so it is definitely a concern. But we have to look at each sort of audit on its own merit, and this one involved, I think it's roughly 4,000 of the 5,700 nursing homes, 85% roughly, did not go through the public procurement process. And in our view, it's a violation of the legislation. There is nothing in the Provincial Procurement Act that allows for this, what they refer to as the right of first refusal to the existing service providers. And it's our view that they could address any concerns that they cited to us through the tendering process. It's a significant tab, $8.5 billion over the next 25 years. They should be publicly procured.
Would it slow them any further if they made sure all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed, so to speak?
Yeah, so that's hard to say because there is a process outlined in how they're doing it with the service providers. The service providers are required to get 3 bids from potential contractors for the construction initiative. The timeline on that, it's hard to say if that would be comparable to a full open tender process. But the Public Procurement Act is there for fairness, transparency, accountability, and so components of that are missing.
Ms. Adair, I was struck by your finding that of the homes that were not selected for replacement, a not small number of them have folks who are either sharing washrooms or they're sharing bedrooms. Were you able to get I didn't see a whole lot about this in the report, so I'm wondering, were you able to get an explanation from the department for why those homes were not prioritized, given the degree to which residents are sharing washrooms or bedrooms in them?
So I think it's a function of the fact that it has been a very long time since the province has made such an investment in nursing homes. I think the report states 2011 was the last time there was a major investment. This one, we're now 15 years later, much bigger, 5,700 beds. So I think what they probably were doing was assessing the bulk of the nursing homes that need to be dealt with, but what we've identified in the report that there are many that have yet to be considered, and there's a recommendation on that to continue to look at the others, because the testing shows that there's numerous homes that remain with shared bedrooms, shared washrooms, and infection control rules today. Best practice is to get away from that.
But I guess what I want to make sure I fully understand is it the case that there, to your point, it's been so long since this was done that there are a lot that need to be replaced, so there is still this small tranche of homes they haven't been able to get to yet that have a lot of double booking? Or were some homes where double booking was not an issue the way it was with these ones that have been left on the sidelines so far? Or were they prioritized instead when perhaps these ones you've identified should have been prioritized instead?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's a good question. Part of the homes that were not assessed, they were considered newer, fairly new builds, I think within the last 20 years, so maybe they had single washrooms and bedrooms, but I doubt that all of them did. So they carved off a good chunk of them, but there's still work to be done. Yeah.
Ms. Adair, on the $8.6 billion going to the providers, did they break that down for you? How much is going to each provider?
I think the details do exist somewhere. It's part of the commitment note in the public accounts audit, where departments are obligated to indicate the current commitments and signed contracts that the government has. So when it comes to seniors in long-term care and nursing home providers, it's $8.5 billion going out.
Right, but not in terms of how much each provider is getting. They have said they won't release that. Do you think
right?
they should release that number?
I don't know why they wouldn't.
They say it's for competitive reasons, but since they don't tender 86% of it, it's kind of hard to see where the competition comes in.
Okay. Yeah, I can't answer much more.
Can I ask you about the lack of evidence for the 1,000 beds.
Mhm.
Is it your understanding that there's maybe documentation somewhere, but it just didn't get transferred over,
Mhm.
or that they can't find any documentation whatsoever?
Yeah, so that was the concern, right? Because it's often that departments are restructured, and that legislation requires when such an event happens, all of the records are to be transferred to the newly responsible department. We were looking for the evidence of 5,700 beds. 1,000 of them we could not weigh in on. There were various reasons, staff transfers, records that didn't exist or could not be found. And anyway, the deputy minister, when they appear before public accounts, is going to have to answer that question in more detail. But it's concerning from our perspective that we weren't able to audit and weigh in on essentially thousands of beds.
So to be clear, did those 1,000 beds predate the current government?
They predated the creation of the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care, which was 2021.
They came in August.
Ms. Adair, just to follow up on that, if I recall correctly, the department's response to that issue was they're getting close to tracking down paperwork from DHW. So would this be one of those instances where, you know, you'll circle back to this and when you do your follow-ups to see whether or not that documentation actually exists? Will we be waiting for a follow-up before we know whether or not that documentation actually exists?
Yeah, so we will be following up, and you are correct, in their response to that recommendation, they indicate they have almost, or imply that they have almost gathered all of the missing documentation, but we didn't go back and audit, so, but we will be following up.